So again, I just want to go over your service learning assignment. So it needs to be 3.5 pages minimum, and it's not just describing what you did. Let's just start with the basics, what I've posted here. What is service learning? It's just like it sounds. It's doing some type of volunteerism, community service, and learning from it. What we want to focus on is, are you learning and reflecting upon concepts that we discuss in sociology? How are those things manifested in what you experience in your volunteerism? So we're just going to go through this real quick. One, here are the parts in your paper. You don't have a Roman numeral like 1 or 2. Instead, you want to have it formatted in APA. I posted a video of Purdue's online writing lab, which has APA references, how to do different things, and then there's also sample paper. So refer to that. All that to say, in your paper, your introduction is going to be about half a page. It's a minimum of 3.5 pages. I haven't put a maximum on there. Tell what you did, what you observed. The next part then is doing a sociological analysis. So I want you to identify 3 sociological concepts and 1 major theoretical approach. That's a minimum. So I am going to post a video on breaking down functionalism, conflict theory, and symbolic interactionism, because what I noticed in the family research paper is some people aren't properly understanding what these theories are, but that's for another video. So you're going to be going at it from one major theoretical approach, which is one of what I call one of the big 3, functionalism, conflict theory, or symbolic interactionism. You're going to discuss 3 sociological concepts that are discussed in the class as a minimum in relation to what you experienced in your volunteerism. So here's the rubric. It's listed elsewhere. So your first question may be, what the heck is service learning? It's just like what it sounds. Learning when we serve. So sociology looks at groups of people, which range from the smallest group. The smallest group that exists is 2 people. That's a dyad. So microsociology, which would be symbolic interactionism, focuses on small groups. And then you can have a large group society. So you can go as big as a society, which if you take the US is 33 million people. So that's quite a wide range. I didn't put a note in there that there's a field in sociology called public sociology, which is focused on how can we take what we learned from sociology as an academic discipline and apply it to improving people's lives. And some public sociologists would say that was the original intent of sociology, with Auguste Comte, who's the first one who coined the term and said, hey, how can we use the scientific method? He's around the time in the 18th century when the scientific method, the scientific revolution is all happening. He said, hey, how can we take the scientific method, which is in essence, we're looking at those things we can observe and how we come up with a hypothesis, trying to explain that explanation, and we either prove that it's true or it's a false. So he says, how can we take science and improve society? So the goal of service learning is finding a way to serve others and then reflecting on it. So then you may say, where do I find service learning opportunities? So here I'm just throwing out a bunch of different ideas. Hopefully it'll spark. With this assignment, I want you to do community service in an area that interests you. What interests you? Maybe you look at homeless people and it just, you're like, man, I want to help those people. Great. Maybe you've seen people, their lives have been torn apart by addiction and you want to work in that field. That's fine. The possibilities are limitless. So here's some ideas of where I can find volunteer opportunities. You can pick up your phone and call 211, which is a confidential multilingual service that exists in every community, whether it's organized, operated by a nonprofit organization. In some communities, it's local government. With others, it's United Way. Call them, say, hey, I would like to volunteer, serve my community. Here are things that interest me. They should be able to connect you, give you ideas of local community service organizations. You could skip 211 and call United Way. Oftentimes, United Ways in your communities, you go to their webpage and it'll have websites of linking organizations. Here, I'll do an example. This is St. Joe County, Indiana, where I'm from, United Way. United Way, St. Joseph County. You're like, okay, member agencies. So here who we are, who are our partners, and here we go. AIDS Ministries, I want to help them. You're like, I'm not from Indiana and I don't live in St. Joseph County. You get the gist. You could contact local nonprofits, charities, community centers that you know of. I would say search online, find their phone numbers, call them and ask them if you can volunteer. Most of these organizations don't have money and they rely on volunteers to help them make things happen. So if somebody calls up and says they want to volunteer, they will love it. You could call up local schools, see if they have summer programs happening. You could call local houses of worship, a church, synagogue, mosque, other houses of worship and say, hey, do you have community service opportunities that I could help volunteer with? A lot of these places provide meals to the poor. They provide clothing, shelter, so they might have something. You could call local government offices and ask if they have volunteer programs. A lot of times this time of year, parks and recreation departments are doing all kinds of things that you could help with. There's public health offices, libraries and museums. A lot of times they do different things to serve the community. Call them up. You could search on social media. Now, I know a lot of you think Facebook or Meta, whatever it's called these days, is from the dinosaur ages. But a lot of older people, when I say older, I mean over 30, who are running community groups, oftentimes have Facebook pages. So you could search that. You could look on LinkedIn. You could call your home college and call them, and if you get the reception, say, hey, I'm a student here, I would like to do some service learning. If the person answering says, I have no idea who to talk to, then what I would say is, can I talk to the vice president of student services? They will know, and they can say, contact you with the right person. What I would say then is talk to your academic advisor and say, hey, can you help me find something related to service learning, volunteerism related to my major? So I give the example, if you're a nursing major, maybe your academic advisor would say, hey, you know what, here's like public clinics that serve the community. They could use volunteers, call them. Maybe they might know of an upcoming blood drive or something. Maybe they would say, hey, contact so-and-so at the local public health office. Do that. Do things that interest you. Here I've provided some like websites, but you may get somewhere, you may not. If you live in a smaller community, like I am currently living in Sterling, Colorado, it's a small community, so there probably isn't things on idealist.org, but You could also ask your home college, for instance, ask if there are student clubs that you could volunteer with and who to contact. I will tell you this, I've had students create their own clubs and projects as a result of an assignment like this. For instance, at the last college, the college didn't have recycling. So she started this big recycling project, got bins put all over campus, got student government to help out, and they helped sort things, and it became an awesome project. I had another student group who worked with this, it was an international organization, and I don't know, they did something with pennies and science education, and they were able to raise money, and a group of students, a group of 5 were able to go to Iceland. So if any of you know of Teach America, it is a program that gets graduates, college graduates, to go into poor rural and urban communities, and it pays off their college loans. And anyways, it's a great program. That project was a senior at Princeton. She came up with the idea. Her professors were like, this is awesome. And next thing, it's a national organization. So if you want to do your own thing, that's great. And then the last thing I would say is network, ask people, hey, I want to volunteer. Do you have any ideas, any leads? The thing that I want you to know, to remember in this final note, is choose something that aligns with your personal interests and career goals. Be clear about your time commitment. Say, you know what, I can come in only on Friday afternoons. Cool. The flip side too is if they're like, yeah, I have stuff that you can help with, say, okay, what is it? Because you want to know exactly what the responsibilities they are, because you don't want it to be a bad experience for you or for them. And the other thing is volunteering. So you're going to do your volunteerism, but that's just the beginning of the assignment. And another announcement, I'm detailing all the requirements for the assignment. Keep documentation, keep your thoughts down, write it. Now, say you're working a soup kitchen for an afternoon. You can't have your notebook and every time you're dishing out soup, writing down stuff. But as soon as you get done, it's my recommendation, you're going to get much more, it's going to be much more productive. Right as soon as you're done, go over to a space somewhere, have a notebook that you brought with you, and write down things, because you're going to remember things that you're not going to remember if you wait 3 days or even the next day. And then my final note, have fun, enjoy it. I guess the paradox that I wrote elsewhere is that oftentimes in serving others and being selfless, that's when we become the most self-fulfilled and the most satisfied. So I also put in there, you know what, my fondest memory of college 30 years ago was, I remember doing, it was different years. One was a freshman, one was as a sophomore, and one was as a junior. I worked at 3 different homeless shelters, and I spent a day at each one. And I don't remember lectures, but I remember vividly now, if I take time and search in my memory, those different service learning experiences. So that's why I say this can be really awesome for you. So have fun, enjoy. If you have any questions, email, text me. Look forward to reading your papers. Thanks. Bye.